You're watching Pyro Media Network. Hello, Pyro Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
What is going on, everybody? Lottie Dottie. Thank you guys so much for tuning on in for another episode of Kwame Speaks. I appreciate you guys for tuning on in. Listen, we got a lot to talk about on today. I want to thank you for joining on in. What's up, Cyrus? What is going on? Michaela, thank you guys for joining on in. Listen, this is a very important episode, so I really want you guys to share this to whoever you know that has a cell phone. You're probably watching from a cell phone. Any activists, any advocates, anybody that's in politics, anybody that you know that is speaking truth to power, send this to them because it is extremely important. And actually, it really doesn't matter if they're into activism or not. Everybody should be aware of what's going on with this particular situation. Now, I I want to tackle something heavy, but it's also vital, excuse me. And so it's called the spyware known as Pegasus, and how it's being used, who it targets, and why it matters, especially for marginalized communities like us, right? From the global stage to our neighborhoods, this is surveillance with consequences. It's not just about governments listening, it's about power, race, tech, and control. So let's get into it. First and foremost, what are we talking about here? Hold on, let's get in here. There we go. Thank you guys so much for coming on in. Oh, and before we get started, please do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. It does help the algorithm, and it does let people know that we are loud, live, and in color. So hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so. So shout out to all of the new subscribers joining Pyro Media. It's not just Kwame Speaks that is on here. There's a bunch of other amazing shows on Pyro Media Network. So thank you for supporting our trailblazers, and thank you for supporting this mission and movement. We appreciate you for all that you do. If you want donate to Pyro Media and support this platform, you can do so by hitting on Cash App $ Pyro Media, or if you want to support me directly, you're more than welcome to do so by hitting Cash App at $ Kwame C 86, or you can hit me up on PayPal by hitting me up at paypal.me/K Corbett, that's with 2 T's and the number 1. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you're not getting any notifications from Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or actually we're not on Twitter anymore, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitch, you can go ahead and text Blaze, that's BLAZE, to 833-793-2423, and we will text you directly to your phone when we go live or we upload new content. We don't do it for reruns, okay? We don't want to inundate your phone with a bunch of text messages. All right, y'all, let's get into what is Pegasus, okay? What is Pegasus? Let's start with the basics, all right? Let's start with the basics. Pegasus is a spyware built by the group called NSO, the NSO group. It's an Israeli cyber arms company. It's marketed as a tool governments can use to fight terrorism and serious crime. But investigations have shown it's used for far more widely. Technically, it's military grade in in many respects. It can infect the phone remotely, often through a zero-click vulnerability, which means that you don't even have to tap a link. And once it's inside your device, it can read your messages, turn on your camera and microphone, capture location information, geolocations, and so much more. And in other words, your phone becomes a listening device for everyone, for the world, and watching. Not only a listening device, but it's also a watching device as well. And you may not even know it's compromised, which is wild to me. Okay, so just a little backtrack. This is the NSO group. The NSO group started this. Like I said, it's an Israeli cyber arms company. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit of what's going on with this group. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Take a look.
If you think you're the one controlling your phone, think again. Imagine sharing your photos, contacts, and even personal messages with a complete stranger, and you don't even know about it. That stranger is called Pegasus. But what makes Pegasus so scary? Pegasus is one of the most advanced spyware technologies of its time. Once it enters your phone, everything private gets exposed to someone lurking on the other end. Pegasus can turn on your camera, record videos and voice messages, and see every media file you have. It can even record your password keystrokes. But hold on, the scariest part is how it enters your phone. Pegasus can sneak into users' phones via malicious links, text messages, or the most advanced approach, a zero-click attack, meaning the user doesn't perform any action.
So this means, like, that's insane. Like, you don't have to do anything. Like, you know how some malicious malware, when you get stuff from Facebook or messages from, like, trolls or whatever, and they'll send you, oh, click on this link. You don't even have to do that. It can just enter your phone, which is insane to me. Okay, that is like craziness. Now, a lot of y'all may be asking, like, why does this matter? Because our phones hold our lives, our voices, our connections, our work, our communities. And for people already facing systematic surveillance or oppression, Black folks, working class folks, activists, journalists, this is a major, major, major threat. Okay.
Hill. Leaked data proved that many governments began to abuse Pegasus and were targeting individuals such as human rights activists and journalists, especially in those countries where democracy is not thriving. Investigators found thousands of individual names and phone numbers in the leaked surveillance list around the globe. A significant amount of those numbers were either infected or targeted by Pegasus. On October 2nd, journalist Jamal Khashoggi died in an attack on the Saudi consulate in Turkey. Soon afterward, the Pegasus spyware was detected on his fiance's phone. There's no evidence that Pegasus had anything to do with the journalist's murder, but one thing's for sure: Pegasus spyware remains a real threat to the privacy of ordinary citizens.
Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, like, whoa, this is like, it's Halloween. We're already getting crazy. What does this matter? This is super important. And I want to talk about, like, the global exposure and human rights implications of all of this, right? So a collaboration of more than, I think, 80 journalists across, like, 17 media organizations launched what's known as the Pegasus Project, okay? And exposing that tens of thousands of phone numbers may have been targeted using Pegasus. Amnesty International Security Lab also conducted forensic investigations, revealing how Pegasus has been used to attack activists, human rights defenders, lawyers, journalists, etc. One human rights briefing said the scale of secretive cyber surveillance by tools like Pegasus, quote, has exposed a global human rights crisis. And additionally, in recent years, courts have been holding NSO Group accountable for example, a U.S. court found that the company liable for attacks via WhatsApp on over 1,400 users. This clearly isn't just theoretical, y'all. It's real. It's like real talk. Okay.
Pegasus is probably the most advanced piece of spyware ever developed. It is effectively the most invasive form of surveillance imaginable. Any idea that you had that aspects of your life could be kept private and on the mobile phone are wrong.
So if you are someone who thinks that you're safe because you use WhatsApp, which is end-to-end encrypted, or you use Signal, it really is meaningless once that Pegasus is on your phone.
Pegasus can infect both iOS and Android, while remaining virtually undetectable.
So one of the ways that Pegasus will attack your phone is through what's called a zero-day vulnerability. This is a vulnerability that the phone's manufacturer doesn't yet know exists.
So I know a lot of us will sit here and we'll joke about like, oh, Android's better than iPhone. iPhone's better than Android. It doesn't matter what you have. They can enter it. And for those who have like the Google Pixel stuff, they can get it. Pegasus can get into that too. So globally, there's a regime of digital weapons, surveillance tools, disempowering people, undermining democracy, targeting dissent, and crucially, for us, its surveillance isn't even evenly distributed. Historically, marginalized communities are often subject to heavier monitoring that ties into racial justice, economic justice, and power. So, who is targeted, how, and why? And I want to get specific. What are the targets of Pegasus type spyware, and what are the mechanisms? Activists, journalists, human rights defenders. For example, in El Salvador, Pegasus was used against journalists and civil society members. In India, okay, one of the newer richest countries that's coming up as far as economic stability is concerned, they have forensic investigations show repeated use of Pegasus to target high-profile journalists. In Serbia, journalists from the Balkan Investigation Reporting Network were targeted in early 2025 with Pegasus spyware. In business and in private sectors too, one data set found 11 of 18,000 devices. 11 out of 18,000 devices tested were infected in just 1 month. That's wild. Okay. Mechanisms like zero-click attacks, you don't necessarily click anything. Your phone just gets infiltrated. So why governments and clients say terrorism or crime, but the pattern is dissent suppression. So those who are fighting against and speaking truth to power, targeting lawyers, journalists, opposition rather, marginalized groups, the industry is poorly regulated. And for Black and marginalized communities, imagine you're organizing your community meetings, your digital communications compromised. This tool, this is power used against you. And a lot of you are probably wondering, well, Kwame, why does this even matter? We're just watching TV on YouTube or watching things on YouTube. It's people like myself, other vloggers, other content creators who are speaking truth to power that can get targeted. Even those who are watching certain things that are speaking truth to power, they can find out your political, affiliations and things of that nature, which is why it's important to get out there and vote. But I want to talk to you about something that's really, really interesting that you guys may not know about. It's about well, I'll get into that in a second. Take a look at this.
So the people who are using this spyware are government clients. These will be governments around the world that the NSO group have sold a copy of Pegasus to.
A Guardian investigation can now reveal widespread abuse of Pegasus by NSO's government clients.
The reason this investigation is so extraordinary is that we at The Guardian have gained access through Forbidden Stories to a treasure trove, tens of thousands of records.
The leaked records include the phone numbers of thousands of people who have been selected as potential targets by governments with access to Pegasus.
Before, we had an inkling that this technology was being used in an abusive way. But now the doors have been just thrown wide open, and we have a much greater insight into the scale of the abuse that has occurred.
Just because a number appears in this list, it doesn't mean it was definitely hacked. But in some cases, we've been able to go and check. We've done forensics on the phone that the person was using at the time. And in dozens of cases, we found traces of either an attempted or a successful Pegasus infection.
So I want to ask you guys, like, are the same tools that we're talking about now being used in the US or against Black organizers, churches, community groups? Surveillance doesn't stop at borders. It's systematic, y'all. The structures of oppression adopt new technology. And that's what's at stake when surveillance goes unchecked. Let's take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, I want to get into what this means for communities like us and disenfranchised communities, and even social justice. We'll be right back after this.
Hey y'all, it's Nicole D. Vick from Nicole D. Vick Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
All right, y'all, we are back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are just tuning in, please do me a quick favor and hit that like button, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We appreciate all that you do. And I don't care who you send this to. Just share it out to somebody because it may benefit them in the long run, whether it be somebody who is in social justice and or is an activist or an advocate, or somebody who just wants to be in the know. So definitely go ahead and do that. And also subscribe to Pyro Media if you haven't done so already. All right, y'all, let's get back into the show. So now it's time. I want to bring it home a little bit and bring it on to what we know and what our interests are. So what does this look like for our communities, especially like Black communities in the US and globally, rather? Historically, in historical context, Black folks in America have long been subject to over surveillance, right? Tech policing, racist surveillance frameworks. I want you guys to think about COINTELPRO and stop and frisk, digital profiling. The advent of tools like Pegasus means the stakes are even higher for us, right? And second, information is power. If your community group's phones are infiltrated, opponents learn your strategies, your organizing, your vulnerabilities. This can chill dissent, right? And so, like, this goes for situations when it comes to like the just recently the Kings the No Kings protest, right? The Women's March, Black Lives Matter, all of that. It's indicative of all of that. And then I want you to also think third, global solidarity, right? Black communities are not isolated. In Africa, the Caribbean, the diaspora, state surveillance is at a premium. The same global tools used in El Salvador, Serbia, India can filter here, right? And fourth, digital insecurity is economic insecurity. If your phone becomes a weapon against you, your finances, your privacy, your identity are exposed. This hits communities already economically precarious. So, and finally, freedom of expression and assembly, rights fundamental to social justice are under siege with surveillance, when surveillance is unchecked. And I want you guys to take a look at this a little bit for a second. I mentioned COINTELPRO. Some of you are asking, what the hell is that? Take a look.
We know the government watches us, but what about when government surveillance changes the course of history? In the 1960s, the US government started a program called COINTELPRO, or the Counterintelligence Program. The program was a series of secret FBI initiatives targeting activists, political, and minority groups. The American Indian Movement, the Black Panthers, Martin Luther King, women's and civil rights groups, Vietnam War protesters, and anyone who got the government seeing red. Tactics used included infiltration and surveying and discrediting leaders and causes in order to undermine entire movements and organizations. But a lot of what COINTELPRO did was illegal, and it was officially disbanded in 1971. Though if you ask many activist groups and political dissidents, it still exists, just in another form.
So we got to say this, guys. Tech is not neutral, right? Surveillance tools are built and operated within power structures. So if you do not sit at the table, you are the menu. And historically, Black people are too often the menu in these power plays. And so we need to awaken, educate, and resist. And digital justice is racial justice. So a lot of you all are probably saying, oh my God, Jesus, Kwame, really on Halloween? What are we going to do? What can we do? So, all right, let's bring this home. We've seen how Pegasus exposes our privacy, our activism, our communities. Now let's talk solutions, right? Real people-powered moves, right? Because knowledge without action is just another kind of silence. So first, policy and accountability, right? The surveillance industry operates in the shadows. So companies like NSO Group have made billions selling tools to monitor and manipulate. So we need hard regulations, not just handshakes. Governments must be transparent about which spyware they buy, who they target, and how they're held to account. So we have to demand oversight, demand disclosure, demand justice, right? 2, protect yourself and your people. Digital self-defense is a modern form of resistance. Keep your devices updated. Use encrypted messaging software, right? Or messaging apps. Learn how to spot strange phone behavior. When Apple or Google alert you to like state-sponsored attacks, take that seriously, right? Host community tech workshops. Teach your block, your church, your crew how to stay safe online. This is grassroots cybersecurity, and it's a civil right. Now, I want you guys to think about all of the people who don't know how to send an email, right? All of our elderly, who always are subject to phishing scams, right? These are ways that we can protect them and defend them by going to them and letting them know, hey, has your phone been acting weird? Do you see certain things? This is important, right? And then protecting yourself and your people, organizing. Number 3, organize collectively. No one fights digital surveillance alone. So building alliances, meeting other organizations that are alliance driven between racial justice organizations, journalists, and tech freedom advocates. And as you guys know, a lot of mainstream media and legacy media is kind of falling short, right? And so we go to YouTube, we go to Twitch, we go to all of these other, we go to TikTok and social media for our news and also for people to get the information out there. Be your own advocate. We tell you to be your own advocate when you go to the doctor. You can be your own advocate when you are working towards these situations when it comes to digital protections, right? So what does all of this mean, right? Let's get real for a second. Pegasus isn't just about data, right? It's about domination, about who controls the narrative, who gets silenced, and who gets to live free. And so every piece of technology we touch is now a front line. And that means our fight for justice, for liberation, has to evolve with it. Our ancestors faced dogs, hoses, and prisons. We face algorithms, spyware, and digital cages. But the spirit is the same. The fight is the same. And they wanted to watch us, contain us, and erase us. But we are still here, and we're watching back. So what do? We rise in unity. We demand transparency. We continue to speak truth to power. We continue to rise up against injustices to our freedoms. So to my brothers and my sisters and my non-binary siblings, to the movement builders, the artists, the dreamers, your phone is not your enemy, but it's not your friend either. So treat it like you treat power itself, with awareness, with respect, and with purpose. Use your tools to connect, to organize, to educate, but never forget, the revolution starts with knowledge, not comfort. So as we close out for this week and get ready for the weekend, I want you to remember this, y'all. They can watch us, but they can't stop us. And they can't stop the truth. They can spy, but they can't kill the spirit. The people will not be silenced, not in the streets, not online, not anywhere. We're building a world where technology serves us, not surveils us. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for now. And that's going to do it for our show. And that's going to do it for the week for Pyro Media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Stay blessed, stay stress-free, and stay lit. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.